What is going on, everybody? Happy week 7. Happy Wednesday night. Tonight, we're answering all your start sit questions here on the 4for4 AMA. If you're over on X, definitely come check out the YouTube channel over on 4for4 Fantasy Football, putting out some great content. We just crossed over 2,000 subscribers. We're on the way to 3,000 subscribers. So if you want some in-depth video with Addison, with John Paulson, and myself, definitely come check out the 4for4 Fantasy Football channel. But we are going to be answering all start sit questions, whether it is on X, whether it is on YouTube. So we absolutely appreciate everyone for tuning in here tonight. And we got the Smitty in here with the first question of the night. And he comes in and he says, would you drop Waller for Fannin Jr.? And I will say this, Smitty, I personally would not. And neither would John Paulson. If you look at John Paulson's rest of season rankings, he does have Darren Waller ahead of Fannin Jr. I think the big thing that you have to look at with Darren Waller is you have to look at the fact that they are going to be getting him more and more involved with the Tyreek Hill injury. I understand it hasn't been great for the Miami Dolphins at all either, but we have seen a high level of touchdowns, consolidation of touchdowns directly to Darren Waller's way. And really at the tight end position, all you need is him to catch a touchdown. I understand the yards hasn't necessarily looked the great since his first week back, but I definitely want to be taking a shot on Darren Waller over Harold Fannin Jr. I just don't think Dylan Gabriel is a good quarterback, and I think that's going to hinder his overall elite level fantasy football upside. We have C comes in, says, hi, Caleb. Hope is all as well with you and your family. Appreciate the help. Of course, C. Of course. Appreciate you. Juror says, is it me or the stream not loading? I definitely am live. I'm seeing people looking at it on YouTube as well. Jurors, you definitely, you know what? Something might have gone wrong. Oh, no, you just got to reload it a few times. Oh, interesting. We are live, so you just got to reload it a few times. I think it's a YouTube issue. So we go into the next question. And like I said, C, appreciate you for being here today. I hope it all well with you and your family. Appreciate the help, dude. Of course, dude. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being here. Thanks for continuing to try to improve your fantasy football team this season. And yeah, baby JT's doing real well. You said number 1 is standard, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, 1 tight end. Hi, Caleb. Yeah, appreciate your help. We got Barkley, Hall, Etienne, Warren, London, BTJ, Rice, Olave, Waller, and Pitts. So if we started off, we're looking at 2 running backs this week. Barkley, Hall, Etienne, Warren. As much as Barkley has been struggling, you still got to go Barkley. You still got to go Hall. 2 wide receivers. I would go with London, BTJ, and then I'd go with Rice in the flex. And then between Waller and Pitts, where do I have these guys ranked? They're definitely close. I'd still go with Darren Waller this week versus Cleveland. So I would lean, like I said, Waller, Rice, BTJ, London, Hall, Barkley would be the way that I would look to go. We got Ben coming in over on YouTube. It says, non-PPR, who would you start for your 3rd wide receiver if healthy? Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore, or Harold Fannin? Yeah, so great question. Harold Fannin is a tight end, so I don't know if this is like a flex spot for you, Ben. But between Calvin Ridley and DJ Moore, I think ideally I'd lean DJ Moore, but especially with that unbeknownst injury that he suffered in that Commanders game, you're probably going to have to go Calvin Ridley just because we're not going to know what that snap share is going to look like for DJ Moore. And I think we're going to get a lot more Luther Burden in week 7 than I think a lot of people are prepared and ready for. And so therefore I would go with Calvin Ridley this week out there. I think that is the safer play. And Jurors, same. Yeah, I had to reload. I just did it on my side too. I don't know what the heck that was about. We got Joe coming in from X. He said, starting Aaron Rodgers tomorrow, ? I am personally not starting Aaron Rodgers in any leagues personally, but if you were to be starting them versus Cincinnati, I could understand it. It's a pretty good matchup. We saw just exactly what you would think from Jordan Love versus his Bengals defense, but I do have him higher than usual, Joe. Like I don't have him as a top 22-ish quarterback. He's my QB 20 this week. And so like if you don't have a better option, I would understand, but I'm pretty sure, Joe, you probably have a better option in a one QB start league that I would lean in that direction over Aaron Rodgers. The big thing with Aaron Rodgers is he's going to have to throw a ton of touchdowns, especially with that lack of rushing Konami code quarterback upside. And so that's kind of the way that I would be looking there, Joe. But appreciate you. You said, yeah, I'm streaming with Allen. I'll buy. That makes sense. That makes sense. Like I said, I'll give you some options, like streaming options. Like, of course, I have Sam Darnold, Spencer Rattler. I actually have a spot ahead of Aaron Rodgers. So I would lean Spencer Rattler versus Chicago, honestly, over Aaron Rodgers. But it is close. And I understand Aaron Rodgers. The thing that, Spencer Rattler gives you is maybe a little bit more rushing upside, but there is a little bit more like turnover proneness with his game. Whereas Aaron Rodgers, we definitely know who he is at this point, being a 41-year-old quarterback. Cheers. Yeah, dude. Hopefully that's not how it is for everybody. Hopefully this is getting better over there. I don't know what's happening with StreamYard over there on the YouTube. And you say, Kayla, what's up, brother? How you feeling? How's fam? Oh, dude, fam's doing well. Everybody's doing well. We're doing well. I'm just excited to come hang out, have a good night, answering your guys' start sit questions. You said, heads up, Caleb. I'm putting dinner to the side for the stream because I need the help. LOL. Jers, dude, we're in this week 7 and it's getting weird with injuries. It's getting weird with all the above, dude. So definitely want to be able to come in here and help answer all your start sit questions this week, bro. Thanks for tuning in. TBR, thanks for being here. Yo, shout out to you. It means the world. Thanks for coming in, asking your start sit questions. Joe said, thank you. QB waiver is tough, so Rodgers might be my best bet. Appreciate the Of course, Joe. Appreciate you, Joe. Like I said, Joe, I don't know if you've checked out the new, we actually created a new 4for4 fantasy football YouTube channel where me and Addison and John Paulson are putting out about 5 to 6 videos a week, as well as this stream. So we're technically putting out like 7 pieces of content. Would love your support over here. We're trying to grow this. It's a brand new channel. There's the 4for4 live fantasy football channel, and then there's this new 4for4 fantasy football channel. And we're, like I said, trying to grow this kind of from the ground up this year. So appreciate you. TBR said, start Chase Brown, Addison, Tet, or BTJ this week. Well, it ain't going to be Chase Brown or Addison here, TBR. It's going to have to be between Tet and BTJ. And as somebody that has been all on the BTJ hype train, I think you got to go him versus the Rams. I think this is a great matchup. I understand the Rams front 7 is pretty good, but I think as long as Trevor Lawrence can get some time, the first read, the target share that BTJ is getting, it's just absolutely elite. Now, Tedero McMillan, good matchup versus the Jets. My worry, though, TBR, really in this matchup is that the Carolina Panthers are going to get up pretty early in this game, and so they're just going to run the ball. So it just feels more like a Rico Dowdle second half game than it feels like a Ted McMillan popping off. So maybe, he would have to do all of his work in the first half, which we just saw with Drake London. That can 100% happen. But I lean personally with BTJ over Tet, TBR. Appreciate you. Jers said, I just want to go to the mountaintops and scream hallelujah because I finally won a game. Let's go, Jers. Let's go, Jers. 1-5. 1-5. We're going for 2-5 this week, where the comeback season starts now. Yeah. I just had a league, my worst league, where I got my second win this last week because of Drake London. But I did have a CeeDee Lamb injury. I did have the Brock Bowers injury. George Kittle was also on this team. A lot of injuries, and we're going to come back. BTJ was also on this team, struggling for performance. We're about to come back. 0 running backs to talk about on this team, but we'll 100% make it here over these next few weeks. And of course, TBR, thanks for tuning in. Up in the guts. Appreciate you. You said evening. Hope all is well. Thanks, Up in the guts. Appreciate you. You said Knicks or Daniel Jones this week. Let's pull up these good old rankings and we'll go from there. So we got Knicks at QB 13, and we got Daniel Jones at QB 11. So I would go with Daniel Jones. And then you said to also think about swapping Darnold for Knicks rest of season. It's close. I think you still lean Knicks. There's just that rushing upside that he has, but this Denver Broncos offense definitely has been struggling. as a whole up in the gut. So I understand why you might want to do that, especially with Darnold cooking. But I will say the Denver Broncos kind of start the season, besides last week, they kind of have had more of a difficult road. So I personally still lean Knicks over Darnold rest of the season. Then I do lean Daniel Jones this week over Bo Nix. Ben, for my previous question in my league, for wide receiver tight end, we don't have just a designated spot for tight end. Calvin Ridley's also injured, so don't play. Would you rather have Fannin or Shaheed? That's a great question. Great question. We are, Ben, there's a guy that tunes into this channel. His name's Trix. And we would always say that this question is in the mud because it's super deep. I personally would go with Shaheed. Same reason. I'm actually trying to buy Chris Olave in a lot of my leagues just because I feel like the passing volume for this Saints offense has been good enough. I understand it hasn't been efficient, but we see that if all it takes is one 80-yard touchdown pass for, and Shaheed, honestly, with his go routes and how much they're going to have to probably throw because they're going to be down in this game, I do lean Rashid Shaheed over Harold Fannin. I just don't trust Dylan Gabriel to support Harold Fannin to the level that he's going to need to be a fantasy football warrior for you. TBR said, thank you, Caleb. And then I'm going to scoot down to this. He literally says, hit the like, people. 100%, guys. Hit the like button if you're over here on the YouTube. If you're over on X tuning in and you haven't submitted a question or you haven't checked out the 444 Fantasy Football YouTube channel, we are building the best fantasy football community over here. Want you guys available in it. And we got Adam coming in with the next question. And he says, I have 2 trades available to me. Should I trade away Scattaboo for Henry? Also got offered Puka for my Scattaboo and Worthy. Thoughts, or do I hold? Adam, it depends on your record, dude. Honestly, for me, this is a generational buying opportunity for Puka Nacua, especially considering the fact that, cool, maybe he misses 3 games. But as long as you're, 4, 5, or 6 wins, I'd take that. I think Scattaboo for Henry is also a good deal. I like both of these deals for you, but if I had to choose which one I wanted, I'd want the Puka for Scattaboo and Worthy, assuming that you had the depth on the back end of your team. So I would lean with the Puka Nacua side, my guy. And then Jur says, BTJ to the moon. That's the truth. I think we are, first off, him going over the middle, struggle. Him playing injured, struggle. But I feel like once we get a healthy BTJ, we have started to see some flashes of what he used to be. And so I do definitely like some BTJ. And Adam, you said you're 4-2. Yeah, give me Puka Nacua there, dude. C said number 2 standard, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 2 flex, 1 defense. You said Gibbs, Hubbard, Warren. Yeah, so 2 running backs. I mean, Hubbard might play this week, but I just continue to think that they're going to have to rely on Rico Dowdle. Like the way Rico Dowdle's been playing, I'm not saying Chuba Hubbard's all of a sudden become a bench guy, but like he kind of feels like the handcuff there right now. But I think he's probably not going to play this week, and it's going to be the Rico Dowdle show. So I go with Gibbs and I go with Warren, and then 2 wide receivers. I would go with Lamb and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then I would go with 2 flex. I would go with Chase and I would go with Odunze. And say we'll need to drop McConkey. You're going to have to drop McConkey. That's fine. I'm cool with that. And then between Kansas City and Cleveland, I lean with Kansas City versus Vegas. The main reason I lean with Kansas City this week is just because I do think there's a little bit more opportunity for the Chiefs with not only the points they've allowed, but the opportunity to get those interceptions off of Geno Smith, who's been playing very careless football. So I do lean them. I think the Cleveland Browns are still a top 10 defense this week versus Miami. There's less turnover opportunity for me personally there than I think in that Kansas City game. Ben said, if Calvin Ridley and DJ Moore both don't play, would you rather play Fannin or Shaheed for flex? I would go with Shaheed, dude. C said, number 3 standard 2 running back, Barkley, Hall, Javonte. Yeah, so for these 2 running backs, I would go with Javonte and Jacobs. And then 2 wide receivers, I would go with London and Odunze. And then I would go with Rice and Barkley in the flex. And then I would go with McBride. Right now I've just always been leaning McBride, but I think you still got to go McBride. But both those guys are like 1-2 for me. See, so I don't feel like you're going wrong on the tight end position. And then between Denver or New England, I would go with Denver this week. Appreciate you, C. Adam said CD or London rest of the season. Oh, dude. Shout out to the heart. I think at this point, assuming Adam, I mean, we don't see him with a brace, CeeDee Lamb. So I don't know how quick he's healed. I don't know what type of medicine he put in that high ankle sprain. But I think you got to lean CeeDee Lamb. Now, I think Drake London's probably 2 or 3 spots below him in my rest of season rankings. So it's close, especially after what we saw with the usage of Drake London the last 2 weeks. I would want both. But I think the upside for CeeDee Lamb to kind of become the wide receiver one of fantasy football down the stretch, win you a fantasy football championship, is a little bit higher than Drake London. And I'm glad that I have some teams that have both. So I guess answer if I had to choose one would be CeeDee Lamb. TBR said, would you trade Chase Brown and Scat for James Cook? Yes, I would. Bijan, Dowdle, Trevion, and IR Benson, my other running backs. Yeah, knowing that you can Bijan and James Cook, that's going to win you a lot of matchups. And then, like I said, I know Trevion hasn't played great, but if you had to throw him in, Rico Dowdle, with the potential that he maintains that running back one role like that, and then you can wait until week 10, week 11 and see if Benson does anything for you. TBR said, hit the like button, people. Like I said, guys, definitely hit the like button. If you're over on the 4for4 Fantasy Football X, come over, check out the 4for4 Fantasy Football YouTube. Best viewing experience. We're also building the best community over here on the way to 3,000 subscribers. Absolutely appreciate everyone for their support of the 4for4 community. Now, we got Jers coming in here, and he says, how do you feel about Herbert? Yeah, he's top 10, but I don't know. The points don't reflect that lately. I know there's O-line issues, but should I seek a quarterback upgrade in your opinion? Yes. I think Justin Herbert's like a back end top 10 type QB. But I mean, if I could flip Justin Herbert for Dak Prescott, for Drake May, for Baker Mayfield, like I would do any of those trades. Like, I mean, you're not going to be able to get to Jaden Daniels unless you add something. But I think in the right situation, Drake May, Baker, Dak would be guys that I would try to target and trade away for Herbert. I do like Herbert. I think having Quentin Johnston, Ladd McConkey, Keenan Allen is good enough, especially with no Amari and Hampton. They're going to have to rely. They've already been a top 5 passing team. Going to have to continue to rely on that. But I do think the ceilings there with some of these other guys a little bit more than Justin Herbert. Up in the guts said, Roger that. Thank you. I also need to move running back. Pacheco's on waivers. I was thinking about getting away from Pollard for him. Got Rice active now. No longer need to flex Pollard. Yeah, if I had to take a look at like the rest of season rankings, where do I got? I still have Tony Pollard ahead of Isaiah Pacheco, but Isaiah Pacheco is definitely surging. The Brashard Smith like breakout's kind of dead right now, and so it's really just Pacheco or Kareem Hunt, and Pacheco looks way better. So I personally would probably lean Pacheco, especially with how this Kansas City Chiefs offense is playing. You said, looking at my second quarterback, Dart or Nix rest of the season, I would go with a Dart, Adam, over Nix. A little bit more rushing upside there, which we did not think was going to happen based on his collegiate profile. Jer said, who would you rather have rest of the season, Bucky, Pacheco, or Javonte? Only reason I mentioned Pacheco because his touches are increasing because of that, the better pass game brings. Yeah. It's definitely not going to be Pacheco. So it's between Bucky and Javonte. And the lean for me is going to have to be on the guy that's healthy and that's playing in one of the top. I think Javonte is probably 1-2 spots higher than Bucky right now. Now, if I knew Bucky Irving was coming back next week, it might change my opinion, but I do think Bucky Irving's probably still about 2 weeks out from playing, which is just brutal for anybody that drafted Bucky Irving. Kyle said 4-2 overall. It's a 3 flex and 1 super flex league. Quarterback Herbert, May, Murray, JCM, Genty, Monty, Harvey, Hampton, IR, Puka, St. Brown, Odunze, Smith, Golden, Shepard, Laporta. Need to make a move. What would you do? Week 8 buys will be tough. Yeah, Kyle, honestly, I would just try to get the win this week. And then, yeah, week 8 buys are going to kill everybody, to be honest. And so there's not a major move that I'm like really trying to do because the major move would be we want to get another running back for you. But you almost need to just wait on Hampton. Hopefully that Kroski can hold down that RB2 spot next to Genty. And you got enough depth with Monty and Harvey for me to feel okay about it. Now your wide receivers are great. And I just think you need to wait on Puka Nacua here because St. Brown, Odunze, Devontae Smith should be able to hold down the fort. Golden too. We might need to make some waiver wire moves, but I think in major trades, like the only thing that I can maybe say is if you want to tear down, I'm not the biggest Murray guy right now, and I'm pretty sure nobody in fantasy football is. But if there's any way that I can tear down off of Murray, to get even like further down, like could I get Michael Penix or Bryce Young in a small plus, or pair like Murray and Devontae Smith and go get another quarterback, but like an upgrade at the wide receiver position, Kyle? That would be a move that I would be looking to do. Something like that, where you're still gaining those positions, because in Superflex, we don't want less than 3 quarterbacks, but I think you would then be able to maybe improve that wide receiver core just ever so slightly, which is it's already good. It's already good, but at least help to withdraw that Puka Nacua injury. C said Murray, Stroud, Rogers, Purdy, Tiger Ward. If I had to choose from all of these quarterbacks, I'm assuming this is this week. See, I'm assuming this is this week. And who am I missing here? Man, Fields has been. I think I might go Fields here, dude. Honestly, I don't have. If it's at least this week. Yeah, versus all these guys, I would go Fields. But if it's like rest of the season, I would probably go Purdy. VBR said Harvey is on waivers. I got Spears at Charbonnet, Golden, Fannin, Vidal. Do I drop any for Harvey? Man, I wish I could tell you that I want it to be the Harvey show rest of season, but it's hard for me to rank him high. But if I had to drop somebody, I'm holding Zach Charbonnet, holding Golden, I'm holding Vidal. The question is the Tajay Spears. And I think Tajay Spears is the guy. We think the explosion's there, but the reason I think I'm leaning Harvey is just because the Broncos offense is going to be and will be so much better than the Tennessee Titans offense, even after that firing. I would just personally lean with holding, getting Harvey and dropping Spears, especially with Spears not being in the IR spot anymore. VBZ said, pick one to start full PPR, Vidal or Rico. Oh, dude. VBZ, me answering at this moment, I'm assuming Chuba Hubbard's not playing, so I lean Rico. But I think even if Chuba Hubbard plays, I still lean Rico. It's gonna be such a heavy, dominant game versus the Jets. I think they're gonna get up, and second half's gonna be the Rico. And even if Chuba Hubbard's playing, like Chuba and Rico show that I still think Rico Dowdle gets enough volume in this game to sustain, and we can kind of figure out exactly what those splits look like. Now, I'm glad you have Vidal, because clearly Vidal is the running back that you want to own for the Chargers and is explosive. So I do lean Rico Dowdle, though, here. Adam said, if I trade away Scatterboo and Worthy, should I go for Chase or Puka? Yeah, if you can pair those two guys up and go get Chase, go get Puka, go get Jefferson, go get CeeDee Lamb, go get Rome Odunze, Drake London, like any of those guys, I'd be cool with. But start at the top and work your way down, Adam. That's my recommendation. VBZ2X, are you trading Olave and Golden for Judkins? Jack Henrico, Knight, London Pickens. Yes, I would. Now, it does leave your wide receivers a little bare with only having 3, but with McBride. But I feel like you just upgrade that running back room and you just assume that whatever flex VBZ that you play is going to be a running back. Adam, I think last question. Hello, Krosky or Judkins rest of season? Ooh. This might be a hot take. So you see the jerseys behind me, Adam. I'm a big Ohio State fan. I think Quinshon Judkins is super talented. I just think that the offense is going to be that much better for the Commanders because you got Jane Daniels, Deebo Samuel, healthy Terry McLaurin, hopefully coming back over whether it's this week or next week. I just think that there's going to be more opportunities. I know Bill absolutely pooped his pants on major primetime Monday Night Football, but I do think there's a lot more in the tank for Bill to get back to kind of where he was in week 5, not what we saw in week 6. Up in the guts, the Seahawks or Rams this week, both on buys next week and thinking of keeping Seahawks for the season. I hate having 2 defenses, but yeah, dude. So up in the guts, so last week I picked up, I needed a win so bad, dude. And so I was like, I love the Seahawks, but I'm going to go drop them because in a league for the Green Bay Packers defense, because I was like, dude, they're going up against the Bengals. Like Joe Flacco's not going to be able to move around. Micah Parsons, yada, yada, yada. Convinced myself into it. Clearly should have just kept with the Seahawks because those guys just get double-digit fantasy points like every week. Now, this matchup versus Houston, we're going up against I say we. The Seattle defense is going up against a very brutalized Houston Texans offensive line, which makes me excited for the Seahawks defense. Now, the whole back end is like beat up. I was just actually, I needed to do this before the stream because I was for my own personal benefit, but I did drop the Green Bay Packers again for the Seahawks. I was going to see what their injury status was today after practice because I hadn't seen if they had made like an official any report on some of these defensive backs. Because let's see. Because we have so they made Devin Witherspoon is questionable, Rick Wollen is questionable, Julian Love is questionable. Like those three guys, and then Derek Hall is also questionable. Like if I knew 3 of those 4 guys were coming back, like it'd just be like so instant of a start for the Seahawks. But I do think there's some debate there with the Rams matchup. But I personally would go with the Seahawks up in the guts. Eddie said, "Hey Caleb, half PPR, Fannin or Otten this week, and who would you rather have rest of season?" Appreciate you for tuning in here, Eddie. This week between both of them, I mean, Cade Otton is about to get an insane amount of targets, we're assuming, but Detroit's been pretty good against the tight ends, and they have a pretty decent pass rush. And you add in the fact that maybe the developing routes down the field aren't going to be fully there for Baker. Now, Baker's been playing in an MVP level, so I don't want to say that I'm going to be betting against Baker because that would be absolutely dumb. But I do lean Harold Fannin here versus Miami over Cade Otton by about 3 spots. And then rest of season, who would I rather have? Ooh. Man. This is tight. This is tight on the rest of season question. I still think I think Fannin's the answer both ways. Because we got Mike Evans might actually be back this week too. And we'll have to see how long Emeka Egbuka, like I said, is going to be out. But we do have that bye coming up as well. Kyle said, "Would you send Monty and D. Smith to try and get..." Yes, 100%. What about Monty and Odunze to get Derrick Henry? No. I'd rather have Odunze over Derrick Henry. Straight up, Kyle, in a full PPR format. So I just feel like I'd rather just hold on to Monty, especially considering the fact that Dan Campbell came out and said, "Hey, there's a chance, like I'd like to get David Montgomery more involved in the offense than he's been," which is just going to take away from Jahmyr Gibbs and give them to David Montgomery. Could be talking about another 3-touchdown day coming up in the future. Adam said, "Appreciate the help. You're the best channel for real." Dude, appreciate you, Adam. Yeah, we're trying over here. Me and Addison definitely, and to provide the best that we can. So appreciate you, dude. Eddie said, "Do I need to make a trade? Josh Allen, Bijan, Judkins, Chase Brown, Bill, JSN, and Emeka Egbuka, Odunze said, No. I mean, Eddie, the weakest part of your team is that tight end spot, and you're not going to be able to trade for a Jake Ferguson or a Trey McBride at this point without giving up a piece of your team. Now, hot take season of this is, what if we used Sutton to go get Jake Ferguson or to go get Trey McBride, Tyler Warren? Could you get any of those 3 guys? And even potentially, could I trade a Sutton to go get a Brock Bowers? I know Brock Bowers is hurt, but him coming back, I assume he's not playing this week. Assume he's not playing. He's on bye in week 8, so he's probably not back until week 9, fully healthy. But that down the stretch for you, depending on what your record is, Eddie, and let's say we just can sustain 2. Let's say we can sustain 2 losses over the next 4 weeks. Brock Bowers would be a guy that I'd like to add to this roster because I do think if we get this guy fully back to being healthy without that PCL, he was dominating week 1 before he got hurt. So for me, I think that would be an option. Now, of course, prefer Tyler Warren, prefer Trey McBride, prefer Jake Ferguson, clearly. But I do think that tight end spot's the weakest spot for you. And if I could just take Courtland Sutton, because most weeks I'm going to want to start JSN, Egbuka, Odunze, and Rice over him. The only issue is that then by you then trading for another injured player with Egbuka already being injured, that does leave your depth a little bit there. But let's just hope that you can sustain that. And if you can't, then don't worry. Just hold on to Courtland Sutton. Okay, we got VBZ2X says, pick 2 full PPR, ETN, Devontae Smith, Fannin, Vidal, Rico. VBZ, I would be going with Rico and Vidal this week as my 2 options here. Drew said, okay, so the guy I'm targeting to trade who has Bucky and Pacheco, so Javonte is out of the question. I'm leaning Pacheco because I'm 2-4 and need to win now. So I'm targeting a trade with has Bucky and Pacheco. So Javonte is out of the question. I'm leaning Pacheco because yeah. If you can get Pacheco, it just depends on what price jurors you're getting offered. I'd love for you to get Bucky Irving because I think when he comes back, we know who Bucky is. But if you do need some points, then Pacheco would be the way. But you're not offering the same price that you would have to get Bucky Irving. You're definitely going to be a little bit cheaper. Up in the Guts said, thank you as always. Need to get dinner going. Have a great night. Appreciate you, dude. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you're cooking dinner and hopefully it's really, really good. Jur said, I was thinking DK and Pacheco for Chuba and maybe Smitty or Addison. I was thinking DK and Pacheco for Chuba and maybe Smitty or Addison. I'd be left with BTJ Evans Cover. Yeah. The issue with this, yeah, I mean, if I can get rid of Chuba and I can get rid of, I'd want to get rid of Addison before I get rid of Smitty, but I like that. If you can get an upgrade at wide receiver, and you take the slight down tier at running back, but also understand the fact that Rico Dowdle could be the RB1 for the Panthers rest of the season, and you might just get caught holding the bag on Chuba Hubbard. VBZ, half PPR, have Bowers, Fan, and Mason. Who do I drop? Well, the answer is Fannin. That's the answer. I understand holding Bowers. You got to hold on to Bowers. I don't care if it's a 6-man league, 7-man league, 8-man league. You got to hold on to Bowers. So then the question is Mason or Fannin. But VBZ, I assumed Mason was Jordan Mason. I'm assuming this could be Mason Taylor too. But I'm just assuming it's Jordan Mason. If it's Jordan Mason, the running back, then you're holding Jordan Mason. But if it is Mason Taylor, the tight end, and you're trying to figure out who to be holding here, I would go Bowers and Fannin. So just depends, VBZ. Kyle said, just a funny story. I was 0-4 in my IRE league, so I go to my team for all the main Eagles pieces because I'm an Eagles fan. Everyone thought I was an idiot. Since then, have not lost. Dude, look at that. Well, the nice thing is with the in one league, yeah. I think what I find with the Eagles offense is Saquon, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, one of those guys is going to eat alongside Jalen Hurts. So if you have all four playing at one time, two of those guys are going to pop off. It's just a matter of knowing which two. But if you have all the guys, then you have all the guys. So it usually works out. And then you say Monty for Chase Brown straight up. Man. I think I want Monty here. I think there's just more touchdown upside. I think they're going to get him more involved. I think I would love the thought process that Joe Burrow is going to help Chase Brown be a more efficient, a more electric level running back, and I just don't think that's going to be the case, Kyle. Of course, Eddie. Thanks for tuning in, man. Appreciate you. Infinite Pilot, thanks for tuning in. You said Josh Jacobs for Lamb. No, dude, I'm holding on to Josh Jacobs. I'm assuming, Infinite, that this is PPR answering this question. I think Josh Jacobs is a top 4 running back rest of season. I think the volume that you're getting from him is absolutely elite. I mean, of course, you prefer CMC, Bijan, Jonathan Taylor right now above Josh Jacobs. Now, CeeDee Lamb's a little bit more of a risk because we're coming off an injury, a high ankle sprain. We don't know if CeeDee Lamb is going to be the same, but the thing that I will say that we know now that we did not know before CeeDee Lamb got hurt was how good and how electric Dak Prescott was going to be. The fact that he is absolutely dicing up defenses with George Pickens and Jake Ferguson, like imagine when he had CeeDee Lamb. Like I love me some George Pickens, but CeeDee Lamb is like, even if CeeDee Lamb's at 90%, is better than George Pickens at 100. Now, that might be hot take central because George Pickens has looked like the second coming of Calvin Johnson. Not really, but Julio Jones, whatever you want to say. He's looked really good. I just, personally for me, I would lean with CeeDee Lamb, especially if it's a full PPR format. If it's half PPR, I do lean with Josh Jacobs, though. If it just kind of depends on that scoring setting. Jurist at 2.4 PPR, 12 team, Herbert, H.Jan, Chuba, Mason, Jenkins, March, BTJ, Hunter Henry, Jers. Also, someone put up Scary Terry and Keenan Allen on the trade block. I was thinking maybe targeting Scary Terry. Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to trade for Scary Terry, could I get rid of Smitty? That's who I'd want to get rid of. Smitty or Addison for Scary Terry. If you can do that, I feel really good about this team. You want to hold on to your running backs. As much as I talked about Judkins being a little bit lower in my rest of the season rankings, I think you're going to play the matchups here the rest of the season, Jers, and I think we have a good chance to get us to a spot where we need, we'll eat out a few wins and get to that 500 land and then go from there. And then VB, yeah, cool. I assumed it was Mason Taylor on that question. And so I would still go Bowers and Fanta would be the two that I keep. And then VBZ said, if Mike Evans is out, do I start Carter, Bourne, Booty, Tez, and half PPR? Ooh. You're still gonna have to go Kendrick Bourne here. I know George Kittle's coming back. Juwan Jennings was off the injury list last week, and he did not struggle. But I would still go. I would go with Kendrick Bourne because I have him above Booty, have him above Tez. Carter's interesting because I'm assuming that this is going to be a little bit more pass heavy game for the Cardinals, and they could get him more involved. But the thing is, him and Bam Knight had a 50-50 split last week, and so I don't want to be banking on him having to get the PPR receptions to stay relevant. Jer said, also someone put up Scary. Yep. I like Scary Terry. Jer said, what do you say? Hey, Kyle, go Birds. Thanks a lot, bro. You're the man. God bless you. Hey, appreciate you, Kyle. Thanks for tuning in, dude. BB said, Pickens is a dog. He's a straight dog. Okay, that might be the hot take of the night. CD's better, but Pickens more fun to watch. I mean, Pickens just does stuff. He does move at a different speed, but I think this opens up the opportunity for both of them to be absolutely elite for fantasy football. Now, I think CeeDee Lamb coming back actually hurts Javonte Williams because now we're just banking on touchdowns. I think they're just going to air the ball out because those guys are going to be open. Who are you guarding? Pickens, CeeDee Lamb. You're going to have to single. You can't double them because you got Jake Ferguson over the top. And if you then, go back into cover 2, you're going to be able to then run up the gut with Javonte Williams. So they're going to really dice up defenses as long as everyone remains healthy. Kyle said, I have Hurts, Barkley, AJ, Smith, Goddard, Nichols defense. Crazy, dude. Go Birds, I guess. Ashley said, would you rather Michael Carter or Tootin bench stash? Any thoughts on Isaiah likely rest of season? Ashley, I appreciate you. So it depends on, this is a question. So I have a league where I have these guys both stashed. I think the issue with Michael Carter is we're heading into week 7. He's got 3, realistically 2 more weeks. Because I'm trying to remember right now off the top what week is the Cardinals bye week. Is week 8. So realistically, we have 2 more weeks of Michael Carter having some sort of relevance on this Arizona Cardinals backfield before Trey Benson is pulled off of IR in week 10. Now, that's also assuming Trey Benson gets healthy by week 10. Now, Tootin is the clear beneficiary to a Travis Etienne injury. So if Travis Etienne were to get hurt, then Bashal Tootin would be the guy. So you're kind of playing with, do I need the points now or do I need the points later? And the issue is if you drop Tootin, something happens to Etienne, that dude's the number 1 waiver wire pickup. Everyone's calling him a league winner, the next Devon A. Chain. Now, Michael Carter could put up some solid, 7, 10 fantasy point per game days. I don't think he's going to get, back to that 20 points per game that he had in week 6, just because week 5, sorry, when it became unexpected and Michael Carter starting off the street. So personally for me, I lean with the Tootin as the stash. I think if you need points, Ashley, depending on your lineup, you might need Michael Carter. But assuming that this is more like a later in the season stash, I'd go with Tootin. And when it comes to Isaiah Likely, I'm not super excited. There's a lot of guys that I would prefer over Isaiah Likely. I understand there's the glimpses that we have, but between Bateman, Zay Flowers, Derrick Henry, Mark Andrews, there's a lot of mouse in this offense, and so I'd probably look a different way. I'd look at AJ Barner, David Njoku, TJ Hawkinson, as much as he struggled, I still look that way. Zach Ertz. I don't know if any of them are available to you, but those would be the way that I would lean. Ashley, appreciate you tuning in, and let me know if I can answer that in a different way or you need some more insight. Juror said Hunter Henry or Cade Otton this week. I would go with Hunter Henry versus Tennessee. It's a juicy matchup. Drake May has been carving up defenses. Now, I still think Cade Otton's a good play versus Detroit. He's still better than he was. Kind of all season, he's kind of hovered around tight end 17 to tight end 18 for me. And then this week, he's a little bit higher. So I would personally go, but I would still go with Hunter Henry because I have him ahead of Cade Otton. And ladies and gentlemen, I did not bring up water, so I am absolutely parched. So if you think my throat's going out, it kind of is. VBZ said, I don't know. I feel like with the new brain play, maybe they utilize Tajay. Tony's getting like 3 yards per carry. While some of us have a receiving upside due to always chilling around my tripping. Yeah, VBZ, that's 100% true. That's 100% true. Could they go to the most explosive back in that backfield? For sure. But I don't think the most explosive back is going to change the fact that that offense stinks. It doesn't matter who they have in there calling the plays. When you got Calvin Ridley and Manor as your top 2 wide receivers, Chigo Konkwu and Tony Pollard, and an offensive line that really hasn't been playing up to snuff. It's hard to get fantasy football points. Then you said he had a floor of 15 last 4 weeks. Dude, last 4 weeks were incredible. I agree with that. I agree. That was a different team. There was a different offensive line. I'm not convinced on this offensive line. So who was BBZ? I'm trying to think. Who was your other? I'm looking at your team to figure out who I told you to over Tajay Spears. I mean, you could make the argument you drop Fannin on your team for Harvey because, like, Fannin, what is he, a back end tight end 1? You can find a replacement of that on a week. Whereas if Harvey pops off and becomes something this season, especially some of these, he's a round 2 running back. Like, I understand a lot of people had him as a round 4 in their projections going into the NFL draft. I think it could be 100% valuable to just get RJ Harvey onto your team. Gigum said Tedder McMillan or Bourne. I would go with Tet McMillan Gigum. That's who I would go with. VVC said Tet, come on. Hey, you know what? Kendrick Bourne has been balling out. So I understand Gigum wanting a second opinion. Jur said pick one in case Evans doesn't play. Smitty or Addison, they face either this week. Yeah, I would go with Smitty this week. Jurs, I hope Evans plays because it's like his target share. He'd get like a 25% target share even if he had only one hamstring. So I would go that way. VBZ said Gardner Washington don't want to be in New York. It's true. It's true. Gigam said, should I trust Rico Dowdle? Yes, I think you do trust Rico Dowdle. Dude's been absolutely electric. You've won the last 2 weeks because of Rico Dowdle. It's now not the time to get scared. You get scared of Chuba Hubbard. Rico Dowdle is him. I think people, like, if you look at like a lot of people's rankings, they're probably going to rank Rico Dowdle, lower than what they probably should. But this against the Jets, like Rico Dowdle's a top 6 play. George said, pick 2 flexes, PPR, Marks, Mason, Smith, Addison, Chuba. I would go with Mason, and then I would go, man, I'd love to tell you to play Woody Marks here, but I'd personally go Devontae Smith. So I go with Jordan Mason and Devontae Smith, their jurors, but it is close between Devontae Smith and Woody Marks. VBZ said Chuba is playing. Correct. How much is he playing, though? Rico Dowdle's been absolutely crazy. Like, normally a backup, like, plays okay, gives us some sort of fantasy football value. We say, cool, starter comes back. Starter instantly slides back into being the bell cow. There's no way that this is not at least a 60-40 split for Rico Dowdle. You can't see what Rico Dowdle's doing right now, which has been unprecedented, and say, yeah, let's go back to Chuba Hubbard. I understand Chuba Hubbard got the contract. I understand that Chuba Hubbard has been the starter, but right now Rico Dowdle has the most efficiency, and that's the way that I would believe that they lean this game. Yeah, you guys are debating this in the comments. VBZ said, but it's that or Vidal against Indy, though. I mean, I lean Rico Dowdle. Vidal's up there for me this week, but I lean Rico Dowdle. Jonathan, is trade Tucker worth a pickup with a possible Myers trade? Yeah, he was worth a pickup even without the Myers trade just because of the volume that he's getting target share-wise. So, yes. Tucker and Myers aren't consistent, so I don't think both of them are that good. I mean, I don't know how you can be consistent when Chip Kelly's calling the plays and Geno Smith's looking like not an elite level NFL quarterback. People were calling and saying, hey, he was going to be a top 10, a top 12 NFL quarterback this season. Clearly not. So personally for me, I'd be picking Tucker up, but it just depends on who you're dropping, I guess, and how deep your benches are. Man, I should have brought some water up here, ladies and gentlemen. Let me take a quick drink. We have Eddie says, "What's up, Caleb? In a pickle, would you start Dart, Rogers, or Darnold?" I would start Dart. Yeah, Broncos D. The only other decent D is Panthers. I would go with Broncos D. Also, Otten or Mason for tight end. I would go with Kate Otten. And last, would you flex White or Sutton PPR? Thanks. I'd go with Rashad White over Sutton. So, Dart, Broncos, Otten, White. That's the way that I am going. Eddie, getting upset, but I think I clearly think Jacoby Myers is better too. I just think that they're probably going to trade him because he deserves to be on a winning team. Jonathan said, start one PPR, Diggs, Wandell, Dubs, and Jameson Williams. Oh, dude. The fall from grace with Stephon Diggs last week, that was sad. But I think you got to go with Stephon Diggs. I mean, the volume's going to be there versus Tennessee. Drake May should probably throw for 3 to 5 touchdowns this game. Give me Stephon Diggs. VBZ said, you're playing Devontae Smith over Addison. Oh, PPR. Yeah, I am. For sure. I got them 4 spots apart. Devontae Smith is higher in full PPR for me, BZ. I like Devontae Smith. But VBZ, I will say this. The up and downs of the Devontae Smith train have not been fun. Actually, it hasn't been fun if you own Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown. So I understand the hesitation. Gig said, pick one, Scattaboo, White, or Daddle. Oh, Gigum. I don't only have to pick one. What type of league are we in? This is a 4-man league. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. Give me Rico Dowdle. Now, Gigum, I'm saying this on, Wednesday night. If we get word on Saturday that, hey, like Chuba Hubbard's going to be the starter, somehow they're deciding that they hate Rico Dowdle and he's back to being a bench, 20% snap share guy. 100%. I'm not going to be starting Rico Dowdle. But at this current moment, even if I'm not that concerned about Chuba Hubbard, I want Rico Dowdle in this matchup. I lean Rico Dowdle. Even though I understand Rashad White and Scattaboo do not have the same level of competition if Chuba Hubbard's back. Jers, of course you hate Rico. Of course you hate Rico. But he's popping off. He's popping off. OVBZ said run and get some water. Appreciate you, bro. Ashley said PBR pick 2, Pacheco, Henderson, Marks, Dowdle, Carter. I go with Dowdle, and then I go with, oh my gosh. It's between Pacheco and Marks. I just wish they were going to give Marks way more opportunity. It seemed like he was about to be a league winner there for a hot second there, Ashley. But then he didn't. It was just like, just kind of fizzled out from there. I say Pacheco's risky. All these guys are risky. I think the play is probably Michael Carter versus Green Bay as the RB2 here. Main reason being, I think the Arizona Cardinals, no matter who was the quarterback, whether it's Brissett this week or whether Kyler comes back from that injury, is they're going to have to throw the ball. They're going to be down. So that's probably going to benefit, especially even if Marvin Harrison Jr. is injured, they're just going to be like the check down kings. So I think Carter could get way involved. Every week I want to say, I think this could be the the Trevion Henderson breakout week. Like Titans defense, as much as their front four have been pretty good, they're going to be down. Which how much run does that give him in the second half if they're up big? I don't know, but Mike Vrabel seems allergic to want to use Trevion Henderson, so it's almost like I need to see it before I re-put him in my lineup. But in my rankings, Ashley, I have Henderson ahead of Carter. But as I'm talking this out, thinking about you sending your lineup, needing some probably solid points in that RB2 spot, I would lean Carter. Dowdle. Kyle said, would you drop Kyler Murray for Nix, Rodgers, or Dart? They're all on waivers. Yeah, I think so. I'm a big Jackson Dart guy. So I would probably drop Kyler Murray for Jackson Dart. Now, the one thing that I noticed, I was looking at, I have a league on CBS, and I was looking at CBS, and the one thing that I did notice is that Jackson Dart is still kind of not getting the respect that he deserves. in regards to like projections, but like he's just out doing his projections. So like if you start Jackson Dart, like don't look at the projections, say like, oh, I'm projected to lose by 8. Like Jackson Dart's just being undervalued right now, in my humble opinion there, Kyle. Ben said, should I trade James Cook and Zay Flowers for Rome and Bucky? I'm 2-4 in a 14-man league with 8-team playoffs. I mean, the issue, dude, is you're giving away James Cook, who's gonna, got him and Bucky are. I mean, the package on the right's better, Ben. I'm not denying it. I think you get Bucky can come back and put up similar level production to James Cook, and then you're getting like the big advantage over Rome. But if you're 2-4, Bucky's probably not back for another 2 weeks. So if all of a sudden you're 2-6, you're not feeling great about where you're at, dude. So I personally lean with James Cook and Zay Flowers, but also understanding that Zay Flowers is off this week on bye, but you are also going to be getting him back. You're going to have Zay Flowers, assuming he doesn't get injured, knock on wood, for the rest of the season. So I do lean that James Cook and Zay Flowers side just based on your record. Now, if you were 4-2, I'd say, cool, dude. Yeah, take Roman Bucky. That'd be the way I want to go. But I want to get you in the playoffs. That's my main concern. I don't want you having the best team that didn't make the playoffs, because therefore no one cares. Appreciate you tuning in, Ben. Cole, thanks for tuning in. You said, all right, man, I was just offered Breece Hall for Vidal and Hampton. Should I accept? Ooh. Man, this is a tough one. Now, the part about this, Cole, I'm going to say this. Amarion Hampton probably won't be back until week 11. Let's just say, call a spade a spade. It's probably week 10, week 11. So you're getting better production from Breece Hall than Vidal, ideally, but we just saw Vidal absolutely pop off. And so you're kind of guaranteed the Chargers starter here. And we don't know what's happening with Breece Hall. Breece Hall is potentially in trade talks. There's rumors of trade talks with him. You get the Justin Fields Jets experience where the offense just is super inefficient. So we're banking on touchdowns and just a ton of volume, which he's getting because there's no Braylon Allen. I think if I am you, and Cole, let me know your record, dude. I personally would lean with the Vidal and Hampton side. Because I think when Hampton comes back, we're seeing crazy volume. But it's also crazy trading for an injured player that's not going to be back in his handcuff and getting rid of Breece Hall at this point. So, Cole, let me know what you're currently 4-2. Yeah, dude, if you're 4-2, give me Vidal and Hampton. I think if we're talking like, who do I want? This is how I'm viewing it, Cole. Who do I want in week 15? Do I want Hampton or do I want Breece Hall? And at this point, I do want Hampton. Now, if Breece Hall, this is the part, Cole, that I do want to highlight, though. If somehow Breece Hall gets traded to the Kansas City Chiefs, I know we always say that, but like he gets traded if he gets traded to, I know even like the Chargers were like potentially like a trade destination that got mentioned, or like the Arizona Cardinals, or like there's a few spots that if Breece Hall were to end up somewhere not on the Jets, where you'd be like, that's intriguing. The Bears, like what if the Bears trade for Breece Hall? Like you're probably like beating yourself up that you didn't take Breece Hall. So I think it's a fair deal, Cole, down the way. It just depends on which way you want to go. Do you want to wait on Hampton on the Chargers and you got to wait until the end of the season? Or do we feel like we want to get a slight advantage with Breece Hall that could absolutely go up, but there's also the chance that he's playing for the Jets and this is mediocre. So if I was in your shoes, like I said, I don't know your team. I'm personally I say we don't wait on Hampton. I say we take Breece Hall. We keep Breece Hall. That's the way that I go. I was on both sides of this coin, Cole. But I would lean Breece Hall. Giannis said, Abuka for Saquon, JSM, and Worthy. Giannis, take the Saquon, JSM, and Worthy for sure. Especially, I don't know, assuming you're not undefeated, I think you're going to get enough depth. And Worthy, as much as I think people are selling low on Worthy because they're worried about Rashee Rice, I think they're both totally separate. And Patrick Mahomes is playing like an absolute elite level QB. And so I personally would lean with the Saquon, JSM, and Worthy side over Abuka. Ben said, my team is Jaden Daniels, Jared Goff. And I will say this, guys, we have about 3 minutes remaining in stream. So if you have any final questions, make sure you fire those bad boys away. Absolutely appreciate everyone for tuning in on their Wednesday night. So my team is Jaden Daniels, Jared Goff, James Cook, Gibbs, K9, McNichol, St. Brown, London Flowers, Godwin, Christian Kirk, Harold Fannin, Theo Johnson. Cool and Flowers are off this week. Yeah, and you, what was your trade? James Cook. Yeah, Cook and they're both off this week, but you have Gibbs, you have K9, you have St. Brown, London. Yeah, dude. So knowing that Zay Flowers is your wide receiver 3. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna say it, Ben. I would take Rome. I would take Rome and Bucky. This changes how I view it. I think you have enough depth at wide receiver and running back to make it work. So personally, I would just wait on Bucky, and then I would take Rome Odunze, because I think sliding Rome Odunze in as your wide receiver 3 next to St. Brown and London is going to feel a lot better than Zay Flowers. And I don't know if that's how you feel, Ben. So I would lean the Rome and Bucky side, but thanks for typing out your team. This is why sometimes in like a pinch, when I'm just like debating it, like, yes, I think in hindsight, if you just saw the deal initially, I would lean the other side. But when I see your team, I now can see how the next few weeks could go for you. And so I want Bucky and Rome. Appreciate you, Ben. C said standard, keep 2 rest of the season, Waller, Barner, Tungus, or Pitts. I would go with Waller and Barner. Pitts is looking good. I just think Barner has more touchdown upside. Eddie said, dude, so confirming you would still start Dart even if you're playing the defense against him, Broncos D. Yes, I would. This week, so just to put it in perspective, the good news is one of them is going to pop off, Eddie. So you know that I have Jackson Dart as a top 15 QB. And then, defensively for the Broncos, I have them as a top 3 defense. So, yeah, correct. You're probably like, how do I cheer in that game? That's really what you're asking me. And if you don't want to have to deal with that, then that's fine. That's fine. You get an interception. It's +2. It's -2. Jackson Dart scores a touchdown. You lose less on your defense. You get a sack. Doesn't necessarily hurt Jackson Dart. Helps the Broncos. It's just, you're enjoying the game, bro. You're just enjoying the game. We buy homes near you, dude. I have not seen you all season, and I would just like to say, bro, thanks for making it to a 4 for 4 live stream. Means the absolute world. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry, I didn't tell you. You've probably been looking around the streets, wonder where I was at. You said non-PPR, start 1 flex. Jordan Mason, Diggs, or T. Higgins. In non-PPR, I always give the advantage to the running backs, but it is a bad matchup for Jordan Mason. But I still lean with Jordan Mason over Diggs and T. Higgins, because we just need a ton of yards and touchdowns from those two. I could see Stephon Diggs having a really nice day touchdown-wise. But personally for me, we buy homes near you. I would want the Jordan Mason side here in non-PPR. Appreciate you, Ben. Means the world. Cole said, it's just tough because my running backs are Hampton, Benson, Vidal, Carter, and Algier. So if you get rid of Vidal and Hampton, then what? You got Carter and Algier, and yeah, that is rough. But dude, like right now, you're starting what? Vidal and Carter. Oh, dude. I just think you need, yes, losing out on Vidal hurts, but I think you just gain a little bit more. I think you're in a tough spot, Cole, but I don't think either decision. One, the Breece Hall decision is a right now decision to help you win and continue to win. The Martin Hampton decision is to help you win a championship. Now, the thing that we don't know is Breece Hall going to help you win a fantasy football championship on the Jets? Because if he gets moved, then he 100% could be someone in a different offense that absolutely pops. But we're assuming he doesn't move, then he's probably just a middling RB2, high-end RB2. Hampton, when he comes back, depending if he's healthy, could be that top 6, top 7 running back that helps you win a fantasy football championship. So that's kind of the value that you have, even though you are 4-2. He said, also I have Green Bay defense with Trey McBride starting. Should I drop Green Bay and stream Browns against Dolphins? Honestly, both. I have the Packers defense higher. So I don't, as much as you do have McBride, just hope McBride doesn't catch the touchdown and has like 20 receptions. Good to see Owe by Holmes. But yeah, I would still start Green Bay Packers. Jers said, I need the Packers defense to drop some serious points, else I'm dropping them next week. Well, Jers, I already dropped them this week. I just think the issue with me with the Packers defense is they're good. They are a good real-life NFL defense. They keep things in front of them. They don't give up a ton of points. Last week we saw that kind of in the second half. They gave up a little bit more to Joe Flacco and the Bengals. The issue that is happening is they are not getting the sacks and they are not getting the interceptions and or touchdowns that we would need. So kind of hard week to week to be starting. I think that's why this week I dropped the Packers for the Seahawks because like, listen, people have the Packers higher versus Arizona Cardinals this week, but like Jacoby Brissett doesn't give the ball up like Kyler Murray does. And even if Kyler Murray plays, like they're not going to be sacking him a whole lot. So I was like, crap, like I probably need to lean with the Seahawks going up against the Houston Texans. Human Dinkle, appreciate you being here. Should I trade Puka for Tet, Saquon, and Kittle? Human Dinkle, I will say this. Let me know what your record is, but I lean the package. The reason I lean the package is because if Puka's out for, let's say, the next 2 weeks, at least this gives you some chances to go 2-0. And yes, I've seen less packages go for Puka. So I feel like this is very fair and appropriate level of value. And give you some needed depth that's going to help you down the stretch. So I think this is a very fair package. Now, would I love for, Tet to maybe be a Nico Collins or Rashee Rice? Sure. But I'm also very, very cool with this package. So I would take the Puka side. Or not take the Puka side. I would take the package side for Puka. C said, standard drop Olave to pick up Wilson from waivers. Oh, depends on how long Wilson's going to be out. The other question that we don't know is how long we're going to be looking at, Justin Fields starting. This whole Jets team feels nasty, but I do have Garrett Wilson higher than Chris Olave the rest of the season. So assuming you don't need either of these guys to be starting C, I would go with Garrett Wilson in that league. And C, we got to get you, man, some of these decisions. This is why I play in bigger leagues, because this is a hard decision for you. It could be, crazy life or death here in the fantasy football streets. But as always, guys, you guys have been absolutely fabulous all night. If you are over on the X, make sure you come check out the 4for4 fantasy football page on the YouTube, putting out 5 to 6 videos a week. Tomorrow is Thursday Night Football game. On Friday, John Paulson and Addison's podcast comes out with their sneaky starts. Saturday, we have a stash video helping you get ahead of waivers so you get these guys stashed on the end of your bench. Now, stashing is going to be a little bit hard. That's the thing that I do want to say, especially with all these buys, because you do need able bodies to get input in your lineups. But we will be providing all that level of value. So appreciate everyone for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out here tonight. And we will catch you guys here on the next one. Like I said, if you guys have any more start state questions, make sure you come comment over on YouTube. We answer all of our comments to help you guys win not only a fantasy football championship, but my goal is to help you guys win week 7 fantasy football. So appreciate you guys and have a great night, Jers. Have a good night. See you guys. Oh, and him coming in with his roster. Last and final question. So do you think I'm going to make the Puka trade for the depth? Assume C Karen Puka. Yeah, I think you make it for the depth. It helps your bench. But you don't really need Kittle then. You don't actually really need Kittle. So I would, man, that is tough. That is tough. But Saquon would help. But you have running back. You have CMC, Kyron. I don't know what the bench looks like. I think you're going to be able to stand. You got plenty of depth here. You're 5-1. Hold on to Puka. Hold on to Puka. He's going to be the one that you want at the end of the season. Him and Dinko, appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. Like I say, guys, have a great night, and I'll catch you on the next one.